Hey Tech Writing students, Professor Norman here with a check-in for week 14. Got a little bit of a big check-in for you this week because I want to give you information about two things. I want to go over a little bit of the outline assignment that's due this week, and then I want to be able to give you just a little bit of heads up for what we have left for the semester, as it is really about 2.5 weeks away from being over. So lots to get to. Just a reminder that I am still in process on grading your warning reports. I've not forgotten about them. I intend to get them done as soon as possible. Fortunately, the way that it works with the outline is that the outline is really asking you more to outline the parts that come, after what we might think of as the research part, or even, if you reuse some of the warning report or all of the warning report, it comes after that. So you don't necessarily need my feedback to be able to do a good and thorough job on the outline. I know it helps, but you don't need it. So kind of plow ahead and just keep doing what you can. What I want to do right now is kind of go over some of those parts of the outline and what you can kind of expect. The official title is Progress Report number 2, but it's really just a mechanism for you to be able to give me the outline. So what I would really like you to do as it relates to this report outline is to be able to just kind of tell me, mostly in your own words, though with a couple of checks to your sources as relevant, is I just want you to tell me what you're thinking as far as these recommendations go, right? The final report is a recommendations report. And so the more that you kind of can tell me in the notes outline version what you're planning on doing for those recommendations, the easier it'll be to actually write them in the next couple of days, weeks, I was about to say months, but definitely not months. So what you're seeing on the screen now is kind of my templated version of the outline format. And you just get rid of the brackets and fill in the stuff that's, that I've got there. So like, you just give me a sentence or two about the topic focus for the report, what the report will address. And then what I want you to do kind of for each section, my slide only has the first recommendation, but you'll do the same thing for as many recommendations as you have, is kind of just tell me a little bit about what you're planning to write out. And when you write this thing out, you'll write it out in full paragraphs. It might be several paragraphs long per section, per recommendation. But right now I just need, a couple of notes, like a sentence or maybe even less, depending on how clear your phrases are. So you tell me what the recommendation is going to be. Recommendation 1, to do blank. And then tell me a little bit about how the proposed recommendation will work. And that should be in your own words. Again, that's just like for about a sentence or so. Then after that, I want kind of a justification. Why is this going to be a good recommendation? And if possible, I would like fact or quotation or a piece of data that you plan to use in this section. That's going to be critical for the justification part of a recommendation, because somebody's going to want to read this, and they might have read through your research section before that, but they're going to want to know, why would we possibly do this? And so being able to point to, well, as it says in this article here, it's a really good idea to whatever, streamline operations and blah, 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 blah. But the more that you're kind of like planning that out in the outline, the easier it'll be. So you don't have to have, you don't even have to have 2 facts or quotes, but you certainly could, and you certainly could have much more than that. But I do want you to be thinking about, like, well, what is my justification for this? And it cannot, this is really important, it cannot be personal, right? This is a research-based report. It needs to be founded and based in research. That justification, that evidence is going to be really important. Now, as far as the analysis of strengths and weaknesses, at least for this point, I would definitely put that in your own words. You do not have to have a source for this part. Sometimes it's not a bad idea. But this is where the things that bosses care about. They want to know, okay, this is a good idea, but how much is it going to cost? Now, do you have to know that exactly? No. But it is helpful to say that this is perhaps maybe the most expensive option that you're proposing here. Or it might be the least expensive option. Or it might be the most time-intensive option. Or it might require you to hire more people. Or it might require this, or it might require that. So you can put it out there in terms of the strengths, the opportunities that are available, as well as the weaknesses or limitations. And the more ideas you come up with that, the better in the outline, because then it'll be a lot easier to write them out in like kind of paragraphs. And like it says there, you just repeat this sequence for your other recommendations. Of course, the full template is on Blackboard. You've almost certainly seen that by this point, but if not, definitely check that out. And again, your task is just to kind of replace my templated language there with your actual content. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys as far as recommendations go, because this is a frequent question I get, and it's one we can't talk about face to face, but people ask, well, like, what are recommendations? What should I be thinking about? And you know, it kind of obviously depends on your topic, but there are kind of some good categories of recommendations I can recommend. For one recommendation style, I recommend you go all out. You propose what I call the extreme recommendation. Change everything. Make the seismic, company-altering changes, the ones that might push the envelope a little bit, but remember what's at stake here. If a company doesn't innovate, it will likely die. And that happens to the biggest companies in the history of mankind. You know, they refuse to innovate, and then within a decade or maybe a 2-decade period, it happens faster and faster now, but within that period of time, they're irrelevant. It is fair to kind of go to the opposite end of the spectrum, though, and propose the if it's not broke, don't fix it recommendation. Basically, the let's not change anything. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. That is a recommendation, or as I kind of put up there in the parenthetical, in some ways an anti-recommendation, but it is a recommendation, and it might be the smart play. And then there's always kind of the one that's kind of in between that. What's something that would be less extreme, but would be moving towards the goal of staying relevant and innovating and all that. And as I say in the note down there, you have to have at least 3 distinct recommendations, but you can also have much more than that if you want to. So I encourage you to think of vastly different options. Also think of different levels of an option. So you might have the extreme recommendation, you might have the slightly extreme recommendation, you might have the good logical recommendation, you might have the weak recommendation, you might have the no recommendation. So within that you could potentially have something that's more like 5 recommendations. You could have the outside the box option, you know, just use your critical thinking skills, use your logical reasoning to come up with some good stuff. There's going to be one that's going to probably stand out as being stronger than the other, and that's okay, because remember, the final part of this report project is going to be to make that final determination. Of the many recommendations I've presented you in this report, I recommend that we go with option number 3. You know, that's part of the game here as well. So I hope that that's helpful and makes a lot of sense. But of course, reach out if you have any questions about the outline. The other thing that I wanted to share with you guys is our remaining schedule, what's left for the semester. Here's what we've got coming up this week and beyond. There's not much beyond left at this point. So this week, we have a chapter quiz and a journal. Those are kind of the last 2. Though, as you'll see, not exactly technically the last 2. And then we've got progress report number 2, which is essentially just the outline. Next week, in addition to being Thanksgiving week, is kind of a weird week because it's kind of technically supposed to be 2 days of virtual instruction, which doesn't really make a big difference for us, but it might make a difference in your other classes. And then we're off Wednesday through Friday, and of course our schedule doesn't really adhere to the Monday through Friday schedule anyway, but long story short, there's not going to be anything due during week 15. It's going to be a drafting week. So I encourage you to draft as much as you can because it'll make your life a lot easier in week 16. But I'm not going to require anything. I'm just going to post some stuff that will hopefully be very helpful. I'll post a video with some drafting suggestions and tips and things like that. I'll give you some information that's been really useful in some of my composition classes that you can also use in the tech writing class, just notes and resources and things like that, but nothing that's going to be due. With that said, I probably will go ahead and post the week 16 folder just in case you want to work a little bit ahead, because I think that makes a lot of sense. You'll be able to get in there and do week 16, and there will be a quiz, but as you can see, that'll be for bonus points. I have one more chapter quiz I want you guys to do, but we're already at the maximum total for the semester on that, so it'll essentially be bonus points. One more journal. That'll actually, if I have my count right, that'll be our 11th journal for the semester, so that'll really just be there in case somebody missed a journal. Now, if you missed more than one journal, you're a little bit out of luck there. You'll have to live with what you got there, but you can at least do one makeup to go back and replace one if you missed one. And then one more small assignment, which I say is going to be an easy one, I promise. And I'll go ahead and give you a heads up on that. It's going to be like a little self-review checklist. So after you get done with the report, and before you submit it, I'll just have a little checklist of, like go through your report, make sure you've got these elements, and it'll be a helpful little kind of revision activity to do, but not that hard. And then, of course, the final report will be due. That'll be huge. And then, if you didn't see in my announcement that I posted earlier this week, we're going to cut the final report presentation that I've been planning. I think that'll just be a lot easier on everybody. It'll be easier on you to complete and easier on me to not have to grade it. We just want to do a really, really good job with the final report so that you can wrap up the semester strong, because that'll be it for us. We won't have anything due during finals week. We'll just be done. We'll wrap up with week 16. And so that's it. That's all I've got for you guys here. I think that's plenty for this week. This is probably also the last weekly check-in video for the semester. It's at least the last one that'll be put out on like Wednesday or Thursday, because next week, of course, we'll be off. You know, it'll be our Thanksgiving holiday, and then the week after that, there really won't be much to check in with. It'll just be, you know, wrapping up. It'll be the end of the semester. So I just want to say to everybody, as always, if you have any questions, email me, mnorman@binu.edu. Please just do your best. You know, just keep at it. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Good luck to everybody, and I will talk to you in other ways throughout announcements, or maybe through some other video things. But you know, just stay in touch if there's anything I can do to help, and you know, stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe, stay as positive as possible.